The number didn't arrive with fireworks. It didn't come with a champagne cork or a screaming phone call or some cinematic soundtrack swelling in the background. It came on a Tuesday afternoon in a room so ordinary it almost offended me. I was sitting alone at a scarred wooden desk, the same one I'd bought secondhand years earlier because it was sturdy and cheap. My laptop was open. A yellow legal pad sat beside it with numbers scratched into the margins: property values, loan balances, reserves, rents, all the invisible architecture of a life I had spent years building in silence. Outside, somebody was mowing the strip of grass near the parking lot. The sound came in dull waves through the window. My coffee had gone cold, and there it was. Net worth, $1,003.40, something. I stared at it, then refreshed the screen like I expected the truth to flinch. It didn't. For a long time, I just sat there, not moving, not smiling, not reaching for my phone. My chest got tight in this strange, heavy way, as if the air in the room had thickened. Not panic, not excitement exactly. More like the weight of something real finally setting down on me. $1 million, not in cash, not in fantasy, not in some fake internet way where people round up, leave out debts, or sell a lifestyle they rented for a weekend. Real net worth, real assets, real equity, real years, real sacrifice. And the first thought I had wasn't, I'm rich. It was, this was never supposed to happen to someone like me. I grew up in a house where money was never discussed directly, only felt. It was there in the tension after the mail came. In the way my parents lowered their voices behind a closed door, in the silence that followed any unexpected expense. We didn't have language for wealth. We barely had language for planning. Money was treated like weather, something that rolled in, something you endured, something you hoped would be kind. Nobody said, here's how you build it. Nobody said, here's how people escape. The ceiling above us was invisible, which made it worse. You can fight a wall. You can't fight something you've been taught is simply the sky. So for a long time, I believed what I had been handed. Work hard, save what you can, don't take risks, don't get into debt, be grateful, stay safe. Then I found myself sleeping on a rented couch in an apartment that cost $1,470 a month, making $54,000 a year, running numbers so many times they stopped feeling like math and started feeling like a sentence. I remember the humiliation of that season, not because I was broke, but because I was obedient. I had done what I was told. I had followed the respectable path. And still the math didn't bend. Saving my way out was going to take forever if it worked at all. That was the first crack in the script. I can still remember how wrong it felt at first to think differently, to look at real estate and stop seeing houses as places only rich people bought and start seeing them as vehicles. To look at debt, not stupid debt, not consumer debt, but disciplined, strategic debt, and realize it could be an engine. Everything in me had been trained to see debt as danger, as something shameful, something that swallowed families whole. And yes, it could be. But I had to learn that, in the right hands with the right numbers, it could also be leverage. It could be the difference between inching forward and actually moving. That rewrite cost me more than people understand. The grind was never glamorous. Nobody would have watched it if I'd tried to package it. There were no viral moments, no microphone in front of my face, no podcast, no thread about how I made it while I was still in the middle of becoming. Mostly there was paperwork, driving, repair calls, spreadsheets at night, anxiety in the morning, decisions that felt too big for the version of me making them. Long stretches where nothing looked impressive from the outside and everything inside me was being forced to grow. And it was lonely. That's the part people don't post, because loneliness doesn't perform well. But there is a particular solitude in outgrowing the limits you were raised inside. You start seeing possibilities that the people you love cannot yet see, and sometimes your faith in your future sounds like betrayal to people who survived by expecting less. You can't fully explain what you're doing because if you talk too early, it invites opinions from people who have never built what you're trying to build. And if you talk too much about money once it starts working, people get strange. Their eyes change. Some quietly calculate what you owe them. Others wait for your failure like it would restore the balance of the universe. So I learned to be quiet. I still drive the same car. I still eat lunch at the same places. I learned early that peace is worth more than performance, that privacy protects momentum, that some things grow better in the dark.
Which is why, when the number finally crossed 1 million, no one knew. My phone stayed face down. The room stayed silent except for the mower outside and the hum of the refrigerator in the next room. I looked around as if someone else should be there to witness it, and then I understood that the loneliness of the journey had led exactly here, to a moment too sacred to be diluted by applause. I thought about my parents, about how hard they worked without ever being given a map, about the fear they inherited and passed down without meaning to, about all the years our family treated wealth like a language spoken by other people in other zip codes. I didn't feel above them in that moment. I felt tied to them, deeply, painfully tied to them. Because this number wasn't just proof that I had made money, it was proof that the old ceiling had been broken. That's what made my chest feel so heavy. I wasn't just holding a milestone. I was holding a breach in the family pattern. For the first time in our history, someone had built enough that the next generation might begin with options instead of fear, with knowledge instead of silence, with a blueprint instead of superstition. Maybe my kids or their kids wouldn't have to learn about money by overhearing stress through a wall. Maybe they would grow up hearing words like equity, ownership, leverage, stewardship, freedom. Maybe they would never mistake survival for the highest goal. I put my hand flat against my chest and just breathed. Still no grin, still no victory speech, just disbelief, gratitude, grief for all the years it took, and this enormous sense that I had laid down the first real stone of something that might outlive me. $1 million sounded flashy from far away. Up close, it felt quiet, dense, almost holy. Because in that small room, with cold coffee and an old desk and nobody clapping, I understood what I had really built. Not just wealth, permission.